Hello, Dr. Kris Hains. Thank you for participating in our Doctoral Faculty Spotlight series. This is a chance to strengthen connections between students and faculty beyond the classroom. So let's get to it. When did you first join the EDL department, and what was your job prior to coming to the University of Kentucky?
I'm happy to be here today. I joined the EDL department in 2022 after having come to the University of Kentucky in 2008. I originally came to the College of Agriculture, and I was working within the CLD department, which is Community Leadership Development, to head up the leadership program. But I was also an extension leadership specialist who works in the community around Kentucky. In 2022, I ended up coming into EDL, obviously to contribute in different ways, but also to head up the new undergrad program, Leadership for Community Education and Human Learning.
Nice. What do you think you enjoy most about your position as a professor?
I think the position as a professor is literally the best job on the planet. I love interacting with the students and being kind of a student mentor. I love the ability to be teaching in the classroom. I actually get to teach both undergrad and grad classes, so I get to see things from what I consider a pretty different viewpoint on a regular basis. I love leading students internationally because of the individual development that I see through that. And frankly, I really enjoy doing research and writing and all those types of things. So it really is a perfect position for me.
Love it. What is one of your favorite courses to teach, and why do you think it's that course?
That's a really good question because I really just love, I don't know that there are many people that would be just like, I love this one concept that I get to teach, but I love all that is leadership. So I teach a lot of different leadership courses. Probably the one that I enjoy the most is a course that I'm reintroducing in another year. It's called The Fundamentals of Organizational Leadership, primarily because you get to hit all the basics of interacting within an organization. And so everything from individual leadership development, like personality, all the way up to organizational structure, all the way up to giving different people roles so that they excel in a team setting, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like that's a really good kind of all-encompassing course that I get to teach.
Nice. Outside of work, what's important in your life?
I have 4 kids, and so it's important, but also, there's a lot that goes on between lots of different school sports. I have kids that are in FFA, so there's some showing of animals. I love to garden. That's a thing that I find that cathartic. I love to cook. I also really like to kind of be creative in the kitchen. So, yeah, there's lots of different things that I enjoy when I'm not writing or getting classes ready.
Tell us something interesting about yourself that people might not know or would find surprising.
That's a great question, too. My background is that I'm from Nebraska, which means that I didn't actually realize I knew Kentucky was part of the South, but I didn't know where it was until I moved here about 16 years ago. But I originally went sight unseen and moved to Florida to finish my master's and my PhD. And there are very few people who move directly from Nebraska to Florida. So that's something that was like, wow, and I just kind of took the dive. So I don't think most people would know that about me unless you'd met me before.
Interesting. Yeah. What would you say is your favorite way to spend a day off?
I love doing, kid activities. Again, like I mentioned, I love to garden. I am proud of the fact that I do things like I'll grow tomatoes and then I will take an entire kind of season of tomatoes and make spaghetti sauce from scratch and freeze it. Those are kind of the things that I love to do. I say all the time that if I can make it better at home, as far as especially food, that I'll definitely go to those lengths and do that. But this semester has been so crazy that actually, if I had a day off, I would probably literally just sit and veg and maybe read a good book or just like literally just relax because it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a perfectly great way to spend a day off. What is the next place on your travel bucket list?
Well, specifically, and again, I do a lot of traveling that has to do obviously with work, but we're accepted to go to a conference in Luxembourg, the smallest country in the world, which should be, I'm really interested to see what that looks like. And we'll be stopping in Amsterdam and Brussels before that. So that's the next on my bucket list. As far as where I'd like to go, I would love to explore South America a little bit more. That's one of the places in the world I haven't really been. I've been to Mexico, I've been to Trinidad and Tobago, but not much in South America. So I'm hoping that in the future we can, sneak down there for either a good purpose or just to go have fun.
Hmm. You mentioned a couple of things you like to do. Maybe they'd even be called hobbies. What is one of them that you became interested in, and how did you become interested in it?
Well, so I would say my biggest hobbies, I feel like as you get older, because I used to play volleyball a lot as well, and including after high school. At this point, I'd love to get back into that. But right now, I mean, with time constraints and stuff, it's just not possible. Whereas gardening, which is something that I'd really always done, my parents did that a lot. I'm from Nebraska, and we just, I don't know why, but we always gardened because I lived on an acreage there. And so I kind of picked it up, and that includes having houseplants. That include, I know that's not technically gardening, but I feel like plants are a good way to connect with nature. I feel like it's calming. They consider gardening to be a slow hobby, which apparently is good for stress and all this other stuff. So I
Mhm.
like it, but it's also apparently good for you. So I always look forward to every spring kind of planting out the seeds and the plants and stuff that I'm going to plant. And I have potatoes right now that I have to get in the ground because apparently you're supposed to plant them on Good Friday.
Oh,
And I was in Scotland. But yeah, no, gardening is something I always look, and just being with plants is something I've always look forward to every spring.
nice. What would you say the last thing was that you read?
Well, I actually just finished. So again, I mentioned I have been in Scotland twice this semester, once for study abroad to take students. And then once I planned a conference for the professional association that I've been engaged with for a long time. And there's a woman named Diana Gabaldon who wrote the Outlander series, and there's like 15 or 20 books in that series, as well as a
Yes.
TV series. And so I just finished one of her books while in Scotland. And so, yeah, I was rereading the first one, so it's Outlander. I find that that's another goal I have as I getting kind of further in the profession and older is I do a lot of reading for being a professor. I would love to have a little bit more time and dedicate a little more time to fun reading, personal reading,
What did you want to be when you were younger?
all sorts of things. Actually, and a professor was nowhere near one. I wanted to be a doctor for a while. I wanted to do some type of work in international business. I don't know that I knew what that looked like, but I've always been interested in other countries and engaging in other cultures. There was a while I wanted to be a lawyer. I even took a law class in college. After about 3 weeks, realized that was not for me. And for a long time, I also wanted to be involved in agriculture. So different things like, ag sales, just different kind of aspects of kind of within the agricultural realm. When I was in college, I've always been really good at school. It was just something I know that there's different ways to, different multiple intelligences and different types of things. But I've always done kind of all the processes of school, and I've always really enjoyed education and learning. And so I just had some really great mentors that kind of led from one step to another step to another step as far as ending up in the professor path. But I always say that a little divine intervention led me into what I consider the best job on the planet. So I got lucky.
Nice. Who's been a major influence in either your personal or your professional life?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people. My husband's also a professor. And so I know that we're both first gen. And so we always talk a lot about how we ended up in education and stuff. And his family definitely like had him think about different jobs as he was growing up. My family didn't do that. But my family, it was never a question if we were going to go to college or not. So I was always definitely kind of destined for college. Now, what that looked like in the context and the different things, I didn't know at the time. So I would say family, definitely. My dad, my grandmother, there's a lot of people who worked really, really hard, but didn't get far in education. And so through that, I really valued the fact that I had the opportunity to have education and further my education. There was a lot of really strong, and again, it doesn't matter necessarily gender, but I just had a lot of really strong female mentors. There's a woman named Dr. Susan Fritz, who was a mentor of mine at the University of Nebraska. She ended up moving up all the way to being the dean of the ag college and then some type of a provost person. She's retired now, and then there was a woman named Tracy Hoover who was at the University of Florida, and I actually worked under her at Penn State. And she was the associate dean of students up at Penn State for many years after being my department chair up there. And so all of these people kind of got put into I feel like got put into my life. Actually, Beth Rouse, I also put her into that category because who was a professor in the EDL department. Just because these are all people who, they just happen to be women. I mean, I also have some male counterparts. Dr. Howard Lodewig, who is my chair, and Nick Place, who is currently his name is Nick Place. He was my mentor and now is the dean of the College of Ag in Georgia. It's just similar to our new dean. But all of these individuals were placed in my life at different points in time that were really great professional mentors. They provided really great expertise and really kind of pushed me to figure out who I was within this profession, as well as I would argue to really try and do my best and excel. And they were just placed in there at the right time in different spots.
Love that. What's a piece of advice or strategy that you would give to all your advisees?
I would say that, especially when you get into, I mean, I think that this is important for master's students, but I would especially say this for the EDD and the PhD students, the doctoral students. The dissertation process, and as well as we use action research within the EDD, but that entire process needs to be looked upon and take it one step at a time. I feel like sometimes people, especially when you're making this big leap into grad school, that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. There's no way I can write a 300-page dissertation, or, all of these different chapters or all of these different pieces. And the best advice I ever got is to kind of break that down and say, you know what, you can do a literature review. You can, come up with a research question. You can do these different types of things. And then they just build on each other. And eventually you have this kind of big project. One of my advisors back in the day said, when you're working through this, his recommendation was to write every day. You can write a word, you can write 5 pages, and there will be some days that one will do, and some days you'll feel like doing the other one. But if you write 1 word a day, it means you continue to progress towards the end.
So we're going to end our interview with a quick rapid fire response set of questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite type of music?
Classical.
Favorite vacation spot?
Colorado.
Favorite sport to watch?
Volleyball.
Favorite type of literature?
I like kind of all books, basically.
Favorite type of candy?
Anything gummy.
I mean, like gummy bear stuff?
Gummy bears, sour gummy worms, like anything gummy. I do love a good gummy bear. Swedish fish.
Ditto. Okay, and favorite morning beverage?
If I'm in Europe or if I'm in the UK, tea without question, but I do coffee every morning.
Well, Dr. Hains, thank you so much, and appreciate you being part of the Spotlight.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.